Hi, my name is Brooks and I'm the British Tech Guru. Today I want to introduce you to a new word. Well, in fact, it's not a new word, it's an old word that you've probably heard of before. The word is fad, which is an unrealistic following of a trend. And I'm going to talk about the the tiny home and school bus conversion fad. It is a fad. It's being done without any possible logic, any possible sense of direction or any thoughts. It is a fad. And I mean, I'm hearing about people who sell all their worldly goods and their house, and they buy a school bus and spend all their money converting it into an RV. And then, of course, what happens when they have an accident? No insurer is going to cover a school bus conversion. And what about the RV? A real RV? What happens when that breaks down, or needs major repair, or isn't repairable? Are you then homeless? Does the public then have to support you because you're homeless? You made a poor decision? There are so many things against school bus conversions and living in RVs and living in tiny homes. And the biggest thing is cost. A few years ago, you could pick up an old school bus for about $1,000 thereabouts. The school districts didn't want them. Now they're paying $5,000 for a ratty old school bus, because people caught on. Yeah, this makes money. And there's been a whole load of cowboy enterprises out there. When I say cowboy, I'm using the word in a derogatory sense. They are meaning a lot of independent constructors with no skills and no morals, converting old school buses into motorhomes and just tarting them up to look good. And I think they call that flipping. Yeah, there are a lot of bus flippers. Just like there are home flippers, there are bus flippers. And the flipping they usually do looks on the surface phenomenal. All the rust is gone, and all the oil poured all over the engine is gone. It all looks pristine. Drive it 5 miles and there's oil and water flooding out of the engine. But the buyer has spent their money, and the seller isn't going to hear them again. Isn't going to give them their money back. If they make enough of a fuss, the seller will just shut up shop, move to another state. There was a couple that did that, and I'm not going to mention names. They started in one state, made life a little hot for themselves, moved to another state, then made life hot for themselves again and disappeared to another state and shut their business and started a different business. Yeah, that happens a lot. And same for tiny homes. And somebody will buy a garden shed, $1,000 garden shed from Lowe's, turn it into a tiny home just by putting some cheap little bits and bobs in it, and suddenly it's $10,000 after they put $2,000 worth of goods in and maybe 50 cents worth of work. You know, the work is usually questionable. So and people are still buying into the bullshit. They're still buying into it. And where are you going to park this wonderful tiny home or school bus conversion? Where are you going to park it? And people online on these groups and forums, they'll all say, boondocking. Where? Where? Okay, local authorities here in South Carolina own all the public land. They don't take kindly to people just parking it willy-nilly on that land and just camping forever and a day. Then there's private land. And, you know, I've had to put up no trespassing signs to keep people off the land. And that's what people are doing. They're having to paint their trees purple, put up no trespassing signs to keep the boondockers away. Because they're not boondockers. Boondocking is another word for trespassing. And it's not boondocking, parking free somewhere, because every inch of land everywhere in the United States is owned by somebody. And that somebody will either want rent or won't want you on it. And they talk about BLM, Bureau of Land Management. I haven't seen any Bureau of Land Management land anywhere locally or anywhere in the state. Then there's state parks and national parks, and they're pretty good. They're pretty lenient. They'll allow most people to come in with whatever. Private campgrounds, however, are a little bit more restrictive because their customers pay a lot of money to go there. And they don't want people turning up in some ratty old school bus conversion that looks like it's going to leak oil, catch fire and whatnot. Oh my God, I have seen so many school bus conversions that have been absolutely appalling. And somebody locally has put a kind of like a camper conversion on the back of a pickup. Well, okay, but they made it 2-story. How they get that around without it tipping over, I do not know. And I certainly don't want to drive right behind it. And I've driven behind a few school bus conversions that, yeah, they looked a bit dodgy with things that just about to fall off. And solar panels on the roof that you can actually see them moving. And air conditioners hanging out the back and shelves stuck on the back that flop up and down. And then, of course, I saw one school bus conversion with a rear shelf, and it was so heavily laden that the back tyres were squashed. That was way beyond its permitted GVRW, GRVW, whatever it is, gross vehicle, however much you can put on a vehicle. And people just do this without thought. And they don't make life safe for themselves. They make it unsafe for everybody else. And they've got so far into the fad that they've totally lost sense of reality and what's possible. And the amount of money they spend on these damn things. And a school bus conversion or a garden shed conversion, it's something you do for yourself. You do it for the fun of it. And you do it because you want to. You do it maybe because you don't have much money. But you don't spend a shitload of money on it. You really don't. And and these people, they just drive me crackers. And it is a fad. And as I said, prices are rocketing. And eventually the bottom is going to fall out of the market. I'm already seeing people with school bus conversions trying to get rid of the blessed things, and they can't. And for 10 years now, I've been driving up and down the same road. And for 10 years, I've seen two motor coach conversions. The big motor coaches with probably 10 wheels, and they've just sat there getting mouldier and rustier and nastier. Nobody's going to buy them. Nobody wants them. And then there's a school bus that I've seen around that's just parked up. It's been there 5 years. Nobody wants it. The tyres are probably bad now. Engine is probably bad as well. No. So, yeah, don't get too caught up in this fad. And, you know, if you're going to convert something into a motorhome, look at the pennies and the dollars. How much is it going to cost you? Where are you going to park it? Will your home HOA give you permission? Find out the facts before you do a conversion. And then, of course, there's this stupid craze. You buy a bus and you remove the door and you put a different door. Why? The original door is perfectly fine. But no, they want to make it look like an RV door. They want it to look like an RV so they can con the expensive expensive campsites into letting them in. Well, let me tell you this: the campsites will look at their vehicle and say no. And you know, and I've parked mine in state parks when I've gone away on holiday, no problem. But then it's only been for a couple of days. And, you know, the whole thought that you can actually live in a tin box when it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside and 115 degrees inside is nuts. Even the best AC in the world is not going to bring that down very much, because it's a tin box. Even with the best insulation and the best double glazing, it's still a tin box that will attract heat. And then, of course, there's the problem, where are you going to park it? And, of course, the problem of other road users. It wouldn't take very much for a drunk driver without insurance to ram into it and write it off. Then where are you going to live? And, you know, insurance, but it's an old school bus. You don't get real insurance. This is why you do it yourself, because you can never get real insurance on something you built yourself. And I hear all these people saying, oh yes, so-and-so got it. No, they didn't. They told you they did. Go to a real insurance broker. Knock on a door. See what the real brokers tell you. It's all bullshit what you're reading online. Total bullshit. So, be careful. Don't fall for that stupid fad. And this has been me, Z for Beeblebrox, the British Tech Guru. And I'll see you again in the next video.